Live, hopefully. So we'll just wait for the feed to come up. Great stuff. So morning everybody, wherever you are in the world, dialing in, and we're just waiting for the feed to come up live this morning. Hasn't come up yet. Just wait for it to come on. Oh, not yet. There we go. Super. Great, we're all on. We're rocking and rolling. So, morning everybody. Got Angelique Bradford in the room today. Hi Angelique. You see her behind the countdown. Hope you're enjoying the music by my Uncle Peter. So, let's just get the comments up as well. There's the comments. There we go. Right. Oh, good morning Andrew. Lovely to see you. Lovely. Super duper. Oh yeah, lots of people joining in. Great. There we go. And here we are. Oi oi people, it's Tuesday morning here in the UK and it's just after 8:45 a.m. UK time and we are live. Yeah. Spreading the love, folks, spreading the love. And as usual, we're streaming out on LinkedIn, we're streaming out on YouTube, Facebook profiles, Facebook groups, if it all hangs together, and Twitter. Ta-da! So if you're new to Leaderslive, say hello in the comments. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Raj. They're all joining in. Super duper. Please say hello if you're new. Remember, folks, this is an interactive show, folks, so please get involved, join in, ask questions, network with the live community here in the morning. So I don't know whether it's your morning, whether it's your afternoon or your evening, wherever you are in the world, welcome to this week's Leaderslive breakfast show. And this morning, I'm joined by, just change scenes, I'm joined by, I'm hanging out with negotiation skills expert Angelique Bradford, CEO of New Beginnings. And Angelique, like me, she's got a passion for extraordinary conversations. How you doing, Angelique? You all right?
I'm very good, but I just want to say that I realised, having spoken to Andrew for so many times over the last 2-3 weeks, I'm definitely an owl. I'm not a lark. And I'm sure if we plugged Andrew somewhere, the energy that he gives off early morning, we could light up a few cities.
Plug in the grid. Yeah. Spread the love. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So great to have you on the show. Angelique and her team, they help businesses to achieve outstanding commercial excellence by putting the human back into human resources through negotiation skills and other things. And they want to say that really negotiation is the heart of every decision. And today we chat about all things negotiating skills, folks, and negotiation, and what works best, the hard bargain or collaboration. Well, we'll find out, no doubt. Angelique, I'll come back to you in just a tick, if that's okay. So just quickly change scenes. So here we go. So as I've mentioned, Leaderslive is an interactive show, folks. So please join in, network, use the comments for questions. Engage with us. You can ask Angelique questions, me and Berdine. We'll introduce you to Berdine in a moment. And remember, this is a group conversation. So, and to that end, we have, let's get the moderator scene up. We have Berdine Hugo, our fab moderator in the background, and she'll be keeping our comments and interaction stuff flowing. Hi, Berdine. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Andrew. Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to everyone's engagement today. And let's put some negotiation comments in the feed.
Yeah, we've got some questions as well coming up as well. So I'll keep coming back to you, Berdine, Tara, for now, and just quickly change scene again. So teaser for you folks. In one of my favourite movies, The Devil's Advocate, there's a great line from that movie between the main character, played by lawyer Keanu Reeves, who plays Kevin Lomax, and John Milton, aka the Devil. Who better to play the devil than Al Pacino? And the line goes like this: "Are we negotiating?" says Kevin, the lawyer. "Always," replies the devil with a smile. Love that. Great film, by the way. And look, we're always negotiating, folks, aren't we? Even in family life. Think about it for a moment. Who's cooking tea when we get home? Who's doing the school run today? Who's cooking tea when we get home? Even more importanter, what negotiation tactic works to get your kid to tidy their room. And we were talking about this morning and we realised that, whoa, hang on a minute, that's the masterclass. So, we won't be talking about how to do that. That's just far too advanced. So just kidding, by the way, folks. But it is true, isn't it? How do you get your kid to tidy their room? That's a major negotiation, right? So what makes a successful negotiator? And, is it about winning and victory, or is it something much more smarter, much more subtler? And Angelique will tell us all today. Is it possible in a negotiation that everyone can walk away with good results and openly reach agreements? Now, there's a thought. And we'll also be talking about that old chestnut, our ego that gets in the way. I guess we're all familiar with that one. So, does it get in the way of a good negotiation? And this and a whole lot more, folks. So put it all together and what do you got? Yep, you've got it. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. I love that phrase. You'll be singing that song all day. Now, as you regulars know, look, on this show, we love to get involved too. We love you to get involved too. So, get the conversation moving this morning. What do you think is important in negotiating? How do you rate your negotiation skills? Do you fear it? Do you love it? And do you see yourself as a hard bargainer or a collaborator? And Birdie will put these in the comments so we can start the conversation flowing on those questions. So you'll see those in the comments field in a moment. Like I said, there's lots going on at the moment about owls and larks and stuff, so I'll come back onto that in a moment. So right, let's just talk a little bit about the show just for a minute. So we love this scene. We call it the likey spread the love scene. So if you're new to the show, please, and you don't know me, I'm Andrew Jenkins. Smash those likes and those thumbs up for us as we're going along, please. We'd really appreciate that. That keeps us going, keeps us motivated too. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel about here. And Birding will add the link to the YouTube channel in the comments as we're going along. And, please let me know or let us know if our audio is coming through okay or isn't coming through okay and you can't hear us. So please let us know that. So back to Angelique. So back to you, Angelique. Just before we begin, let's give you a round of applause.
Oh, God.
There you go, Angelique. Brilliant.
My team know me really well, and they know that I'll be dying inside.
I know, and what a build-up, hey, Angelique, what a build-up. So let me just get this side by scene. Can't beat that for a build-up, can you? Feel the love, Angelique, feel the love.
Feeling the love, feeling the love.
Yeah, okay. Just before we begin, let's just see, Birdie, what's going on in the chat. Let's just quickly get a handle on what's going on in the chat.
Okay, so as you said, there's a lot of night owl and lark comments going on in the chat. So Elaine said, being an owl and a lark is common for entrepreneurs and why we get into trouble with our health.
Okay.
And Joe said, with regards to the negotiation with your kids, Joe said, I was going to say I used to pay my daughter £50 for various things she tidied in her room. Each thing, I mean.
I think that's 50p actually in UK speak. Yeah,
oh,
hey,
50p.
that bribery
Sorry.
works wonders. I did that with my kids to get through their GCSEs, so it cost me a fortune actually. Brilliant. And
Basically bribery.
absolutely. I think Joe says this about your comment about me being plugged into the grid. So I hear you, Angelique. Brilliant. Good morning, Maria Jeffers. Maria's on the show next week, by the way. We'll shout you out later, Maria. So, what else have we got? I think, oi, ready for a groovy webinar? Now, you're talking my language, Joe. Brilliant. Okay, super duper. Anything else, Birdine, or shall we move on there?
So with regards to what you believe is most important regarding negotiation, Paul said knowing your worth and not being undervalued. And he also said negotiating should be classed as a sport.
What say you, Angelique? I love that. Should negotiation be classed as a sport? Brilliant.
So that's a good question, because if you're saying it's a sport, then a sport is competitive, yes?
Yeah.
So
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
We're going straight into a competitive mindset for treating it as a sport. So just, look, before we start talking about negotiation, a lot of you may know and have used all these skills, already know this. So it might be a refresher for you.
Yeah.
And others might take away something from this and use in your everyday life at home or in your business or in your negotiation.
Yeah.
So my first question to you all, and please put in the sidebar, is: are you a collaborator or are you a hard bargainer? And which one do you sit best? So, do
Yeah.
you like hard bargaining or do you like collaborating in your negotiation?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let's see how many B are saying hard bargaining and how many. You don't have to get, but you'll see a pattern, hopefully.
Okay, so folks, there's your first question. So please type away. There's a slight delay in this. Tell us a little bit more about what a successful negotiator might look like while people are answering that question.
So, in all fairness, a successful negotiator, it's not about, you've got to look, every negotiation is different. There are always going to be different circumstances.
Yeah.
So you may have done a great deal the year before and you've got your margin, you've done everything right. And the next year, you've got a lower margin. And then what's happened is COVID, for instance, but that's still a great negotiation. People always think that as long as they come away with a big slice of the pie, that means they're the winner. They're not thinking about the relationship. They're not thinking about, future negotiations with that person.
Right.
But I really want to get the answers from people, first of all, about how they feel about hard bargaining or collaboration.
Okie dokie. Well, let's answer that now for you. Let's go to the moderator. Right. Okay, Birdie, what's going on in the chat? What are people saying? Let's have a look.
Okay, so majority says that they're collaborators, and then Paul said he's somewhere in between.
Somewhere in the middle.
And Cecile asked, can you be both depending on the negotiation?
Oh, nice one. Well, what do you think?
So Cecile, that's an excellent question. You have to think, we're all born, we were going to put this slide up later, but Cecile, you brought this up straight away. We all go into a negotiation hopefully thinking about being collaborative, because at the end of the day, you have to humanize the negotiation. We're not robots, we're not AI, but we will come across people who are going to behave in a hard bargaining way. They are going to come at you. They are going to throw everything at you, and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't get past this. So you're going to have to learn how to behave. So there is times that you do have to understand that when the person that you're sitting opposite is not going to budge and that they are hard bargaining with you, that you are going to have to adapt your way. However, this is a good, we were talking about this this morning, Andrew. We had a delegate on our workshop who every year she dreaded negotiating with this person. She knew that this person was just going to say no to the price increase. So we told her to go away and to research this particular person. So she researched that person on LinkedIn, Twitter, all of the social media, whatever we're going to come up with next, TikTok, everything. And she found out that this person actually loves rescuing dogs. So when she started a negotiation, the first thing that she did was she said, I'm really sorry, but my dog might bark. I hope you don't mind. And then the whole negotiation shifted and changed, because then she had a common, they both loved dogs, he loved dogs. And then the negotiation carried on from there. It was collaborative. She came away, they both came away with their deal happy. So it's researching and getting inside and understanding the person that you're negotiating with. And people forget that. It's a simple thing as looking up, what they're saying on Twitter, what they're saying on Insta, what their likes and dislikes are, because everyone talks about negotiation as if it's some sort of magical, you've got to have a science, you've got to have a degree in negotiation to be able to actually sit at the table and negotiate. That's not true.
Yeah.
If you take away all of that and just think it's a conversation.
It's a conversation. Right.
It's a conversation, and that you're going to enjoy that conversation and come away with what both of you want, then yeah.
Interesting. It must be quite tough. I like that story of the how the dog story, as it were. Because actually that opened up that conversation.
Yeah.
Chris James, I'm just picking up his comment. Morning, Chris. He says you have to be an expert in tactical empathy. Is that kind of where you're coming from, or is that something else? Do you think?
I think that's something else. I mean, tactical empathy. You either have empathy or you don't. EQ is something that you have, or but you've got to learn to understand who you're talking to. We have also, people assumption. You assume. When you go into a negotiation, you're already assuming that you're going to win or you're going to come away with losing or whatever you're assuming all the time. You have no idea what's happened to that person in the morning. You could have this great relationship with somebody for years and years and years, and then suddenly you have a conversation, you're negotiating with them, they're really off, but you don't realise that they had probably a massive argument with their wife, husband, partner in the morning. Or they have their line managers come up to them and said, I don't care, the margin is this, I want it, and that's it, full stop.
Yeah.
So it's thinking not to always think about yourself, but just think what may be going on with that person as well. But tactical empathy is a good question.
A good question. Yeah, thank you. And, when someone is really, really hard bargainer, I guess the other question to ask maybe, what's going on for them? Why is there no point of return on this one? Why can't we get past this?
Hard bargaining is an easy form of negotiation, isn't it? I mean, I ask everyone out there, it's easy, isn't it?
Of course.
Yes or no.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Yeah. And there's no.
That's my price.
And it's really hard to move away from that if that is the other person, right? So it's using all of your skills to kind of prize what's really going on there. Is this something that you've been told to do, or what's really going on? What's the issue that's causing this hard line? Is that kind of where you're going to, Angelique?
Yeah. So with hard bargaining, it simply is the easiest form of negotiation. You give your price and you just stay there, and that's it. You might move a little in your margin, in your hard bargaining, but there's no thought behind it.
Right.
That's what I want. That's what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think about collaboration, it's about working in a partnership and actually building a relationship and humanizing it. Where we are in the new world that we live in with COVID and with everything that's happening, relationships are so very important, and people buy people.
Yeah.
Many a time we hear about negotiation where somebody who they really wanted that particular product, and they've tried to get that product, but the person selling the product's been an absolute
beep.
Very, very difficult. It's been very, very difficult. And so all that happened is the person trying to buy it saying, well, that's it, I've given up. I'm going to go move and try and find something, maybe not as well, but I'm going to find someone else to negotiate with. I'm going to get a better product somewhere else. And then that relationship's destroyed.
Yeah, or they come back later because they can't find a deal, right? So, okay. Yeah. Right, and let's just give you a break for a moment. Berdine, what's going on in the chat? This looks like some interesting things coming up.
Cecile asked, is a good negotiator a good profiler?
Ooh,
winky face.
Nice. What say you, Angelique?
So that's I know there's one person on here who will be laughing when I say this. Is a good profiler is right. You're getting into somebody else's head, is understanding what's happening and reading the room. Understanding how they're behaving from, are they doing this when they're talking, and that they're obviously really clearly nervous about to land something, to total sitting there like this, going in fright, going, I don't know what to say.
Rabbit headlight.
Rabbit
eyes in the head. What is it called? Rabbit in the headlights, isn't it?
Rabbit in headlights. So good profiler. But I don't think this is another myth. It's like, what is a good negotiator? If you're a good profiler, that's great. But if you're somebody that's a people person, that's also great.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who there's no right answer to what a great negotiator is, I would never be able to tell you, you, Andrew, are a brilliant negotiator. It's just what happens at the end of it, how you got there.
Yeah.
And there are many things to do before you get to that end point. Everybody wants to say they're a brilliant negotiator, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. And I think somebody said that this morning, didn't they, Bernadine?
Yeah, I think they did. And then I
Yes.
corrected myself, didn't I?
I think so as well.
Was that ego getting in the way, do you think,
Do
Angelique?
you think so? Yes. Ego slightly got in the way because you said to me, literally, I
Fair
don't need
cop.
to go on it. My line manager told me I didn't need to go on a course.
Yeah, fair cop.
Why do you need to go on a course? Because you're a brilliant negotiator already. So why did you think that you were a brilliant negotiator?
I didn't. My boss did. So, that's quite
there you
interesting.
go.
Yeah, it was him that said that. I still went on the course and I learned a heck of a lot. So it was really well worthwhile. Negotiation skills course is brilliant because they teach you so much.
Yeah, it's open mind. It's going into
Absolutely,
open mind and want to change. And the hardest part is everyone looking internally first. Looking at themselves and thinking about how they're going to go into a negotiation and not worry. A lot of people fear negotiation. They really fear it because people have talked all the time saying, oh my God, you've got to do this great big negotiation. And so they've built it up in their head already that this is something that's going to be horrendous. They might lose, the line manager can dislike them. They're going to be angry, not going to get the bonus.
Yeah.
So already they've got
all of those things.
All those mind chatter before they've even gone into the negotiation.
Yeah, and you can be overconfident as well, can't you, Angelique? I've messed up in negotiations as well, and you really learn quickly and kind of, okay, yeah, that was a silly mistake. Birdie, what else is going on? So we can just pick up what's going on in the chat.
Joe said, great advice, Angelique. Elaine said, I walked out of a very senior position in 1998 because of a difference in negotiational values. Collaboration, empathy, understanding disc strengths are key and make life flow.
Yeah, Elaine is an expert in disc profiling, and I can really see where those colours come in really handy in negotiation. We've been in negotiations with people in the past, and it's really useful to kind of go, okay, that person's really green or whatever, or they're highly red, or they're very blue, or those kind of things just really work. So if you're unfamiliar with those colours, we'll probably ask Elaine at some point to come in and talk about disc for us. So there's a shout out for you, Elaine. Yeah. Okay. What else is going on? Birdine.
Joe asks, is compromise a big part of negotiations?
What a great question.
So this is where we talk about value.
Yeah.
So this is where we talk about what's value, high value and low value to you. So you'll go in and we talk about preparation and always knowing when you're undertaking any form of negotiation, what's really important to you might not be important to the person that you're negotiating with and vice versa. And so there is that compromise, and it's a good word around the compromise. High value to me is I always need to have my mug here sat next to me. Low value to Andrew is I don't need to because I'm lighting up 2 cities with my energy at the moment. And so I can give away that energy, but I really need my cup sat next to me. So it's learning it's learning and understanding what your values are, they're high or low.
Yeah.
And that's where the negotiation happens. It's like you can give some away because it's low value to you,
but high value to them.
High value to them, absolutely. And it's all around preparation. Never go into a negotiation without preparing and understanding your break points and having them written down. I mean, I know we're going to be good because so many people can have so many questions here. Normally in a workshop, it goes into a gentle flow into.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. And we're just it's a free for all right now. Yeah, okay.
We're free for all at the moment, which is fine.
Yeah. And Paul Winfield says this, Angelique. I think I've always been in negotiations with hard bargainers, rare to find collaborators. Interesting.
So what does Paul do though? Let's ask what does Paul do for his role that he's always come across hard bargainers all the time? What's his position? That's asking to you, Paul.
Yeah, good question, Paul. I think if I remember rightly, Paul, there's something about paramedics there. I might be completely wrong, Paul, there, but yeah.
Well, I can't talk about life-death situation. That's out of my remit.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. We'll find out in a minute. So Maria can gain more respect from a negotiation. I don't know what the first bit of that is, but I presume she means collaboration. You can gain more respect from a negotiation.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Because if you go in, so I'll give you another example because I really want to get everyone talking more about this. Is I give an example of we were talking around where your break point is, and then going in high.
Break point,
So you'll say, this is, you talk to somebody. So I'll give you an example of a candidate wanted £95,000, but actually their salary expectations was literally 50. So the employer said, no, thank you very much. And they lost all credibility, and they lost all, that was it. The deal was done, finished, because that credibility was gone straight away. And people talk a lot about, how do we have a break point? Let's talk about going extreme. Don't do it because you get found out in the end. This is worth £1, but actually I'm going to ask £55 million for it.
Yeah.
The credibility is lost then. And you always do eventually get found out. Somehow, always happens, always comes back.
Okay, so it going extreme means that you're likely to make people very peed off, if a technical term.
Absolutely.
Quite quickly.
You have to go over the price. There's this is another lesson here.
Yeah.
I could talk hours about this, but go over and over and over that it's just ridiculous. Then you lose all respect from your supplier or retailer.
Yeah, and this is what you learn from negotiation courses. These little nuggets are very important pieces of information. So thank you for that. Paul's come back to us and said, "Yep, paramedic patients can be difficult." There you go. Right.
Yeah, sadly, that's out of my remit. I can imagine on the personal level that they are going to be hard bargaining, because if you're a paramedic, I mean, amazing that you're doing that anyway. But I can imagine I wouldn't be collaborating if I'm saying, "Please, can you just give me an injection because I hurt?" Just do it now.
My mum was treated earlier in the year with the paramedics came around to treat her and said, "Right, we're taking to hospital." She said, "Oh, no way, I'm going to hospital." It's like, "Mum, behave yourself. Come on, they've got your best interests at heart here." There was no negotiating in the end, but it came round to, and she kind of okay, I do get it in the end when we started to talk about it. Okay, so
let's get an interactive one going here.
Yeah, let's do that. Next question then. Let's get you back
all go in, we make assumptions, and we passively listen. And we do, because we're always thinking about what we want to say first and how we're going to get our number on the table first. We're not actually listening, we're assuming. So I'm going to give you just put your answers in here. It's a bit of fun anyway.
Okay, listen up, folks, listen up.
So ready. So Carl wins race after race. He's the fastest runner, yet he never gets awarded the winner's trophy. Why?
Oh.
So just put your answers in. Why is that?
So say it again for the folks listening.
Carl wins race after race. He's the fastest runner, yet he never gets awarded the winner's trophy. Why?
There we go. Right. So mystery question. Let's we'll wait.
So why is that? Thinking about passive listening and making assumptions.
Okay, clue is in the passive listening and making assumptions, folks. It takes a few seconds for the feed to catch up and people typing and things. So while we're getting that, let's
talk about every negotiation is different, and it all has a unique set of circumstances.
Yeah.
No negotiation is ever the same, even down to how the person's feeling in the morning, to how you're behaving, to everything's changed because of COVID. What your relationship has been with a particular buyer, seller, etc., could change just because of one simple thing. So no one negotiation is ever the same.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to remember that.
Yeah, they don't flow. Well, you're talking about human dynamics here, aren't you? And everything changes, and people's break points are different, and their extremes are different. And okay, that's useful. That, and actually, I think your mate Paul has just come on and says, "Is that what he is? A hare in a dog race?" Right? There's one answer. There we go. Yeah. Joe says, "What's the race?"
Excellent. No.
Good questions.
Good questions, but no. Right. So. Any more?
Well, we'll tease a little bit longer. We'll just see if there's a bit more. We'll just keep it open for a little bit longer and see if other people join in. Okay.
Well, that's very disappointing, Paul.
There you go. You've just been told off, Paul. Oh, brilliant. Okay, I take it you and Paul go back quite a while, I guess. Okay, so there's the question for you. Carl wins the race after race, and he's the fastest runner, yet he doesn't win the winner's trophy. Why is that? Right, okay, so we'll just wait a little bit longer. So tell us a little bit more about, is negotiation, so it sounds like it's more of an art form rather than a science. Tell us a bit more about that, because you can get a bit sciencey with this, can't you? And it's all about technique. Of course.
Then what happens is when people go into the negotiation, they're trying to implement all these different things as a science, but actually what they're forgetting is you're talking to a person.
Yeah.
And also, let's not forget, people buy people.
People buy people.
You can be put off straight away when you walk into a room and start negotiating, and you're just put off by that person, and then you're not even thinking about that negotiation, because then your ego kicks in and you think, well, I'm just going to go straight to hard bargaining.
Yeah, we're going to come around to ego in a minute.
Absolutely.
So people buy from people, and I suppose we need to remember too, what goes around comes around as well, Angelique.
Absolutely, 100%. Because
people remember a bad deal.
Yeah, if you're rude in a negotiation, there's no need for it.
Yeah.
You can walk away from the table not making a deal, but you don't have to walk away from the table in a way that actually offends the other person. You can walk away and still keep that relationship, because you never know in year 2, 3 years time that you actually may cross paths again, but in different businesses.
Absolute small world, right?
Yeah, it's small world. It's
Small
such
world.
a small world.
Yeah, and actually stuff gets around as well.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
You don't want to be known as being, it's old fashioned now, but people still do behave. And I think hopefully you got people know on here that we're talking about, where buyers used to make, let sellers wait for 2-3 hours in the reception room before they could come up to actually pitch for 1 minute. There are still companies that still do that. But then do you want to work with that company?
Absolutely.
That behave that way?
Yeah.
So you have to think of it. Do you have to work with that company? There are other ways around, looking at other suppliers and other retailers. Unfortunately, your child won't tidy up your room. You can't just leave them outside.
Well, you could. They'll probably ring Childline.
Yeah. So it's always talking about how you build a relationship.
Yeah.
And when does selling stop and when does negotiation begin?
Oh.
You actually sat at the table and you're negotiating, then the selling stops because you're both interested in working with each other. And that's key.
Okay. So tell us a bit more about that. Let's just bottom that one. So selling and negotiating, what's the difference there then, Angelique? Just there's something subtle in that.
Yeah, it is very subtle, and people tend to, in negotiations, want to sell. They want to sell their product to you, but actually it's nothing to do with selling, because you're already there. The buyer wants to buy your product, you want to sell to this person. So this is where then the planning comes in, and you're starting to talk about the negotiation. You don't need to sell it again. I need to keep saying to you, this is the most amazing cup. You're going to love this cup. You are going to love this so much, and it's going to cost you £50. Honestly, it is. You're going to love it. That's it. It stops there. You've already done it. You're at the table.
Okay. So now it's about the price and how many we want and all that. Okay.
It's about the relationship, and that's how you're going to work.
Right. Okay. Let's just quickly go, Berdine. What answers are we getting in the chat? Let's just quickly go back to this.
So Paul just responded to Angelique, and he said, as usual. And then Chris James said, is Carl a horse?
There we go. Is that bingo? Is it?
It is. It's a bingo.
Bingo. Well done, Chris. Yeah.
Carl's a horse. Or did you go and put it in Google?
Did he go? Yeah, Chris, did you Google it?
Google it. No,
nice. Joe says, nice one, Chris. So great.
So it is going into, and the whole point of this, in which we deliver in our workshop, is about the passive listening and assuming, and that you shouldn't do that. You should go in and actually listen to what the other person's saying to you. And take time. Don't always think you've got to speak. I'm trying to, as I said to you earlier, Andre, trying to cram like a three-day workshop.
Into 45 minutes, right? Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So I think Chris has just been rumbled here. Yeah,
Well, well
Chris,
done.
we've got you, but well done. Yeah, well, that's using your nous, isn't it? That's exactly what it's all about. And Chris was on the show last week and did a brilliant thing on sales. So fantastic to see you again, Chris. Brilliant. Cecile says this. I'm happy to be called a good negotiator when I lower the price of clothes I bought in the market or even shop one day in Stratford. Okay, so negotiating the price of clothes in the high street, that's not bad. Well, from a market, I suppose.
So basically, you're just talking about a one-off relationship.
Yeah.
It's just bartering and bidding. So that's sitting around hard bargaining. So yeah, absolutely. Well done, you. Although hopefully you don't turn up at a dinner party and in front of you sits the lady that you negotiated down to, I don't know, £10 for the dress when actually she's lost a lot of money on it, and then you're having to sit across the table from her.
Well, you agreed to it in the end, though, didn't you? I guess that could go either way, couldn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Birdie, what else is happening? Just give Angelique a quick break for a minute.
Chris said you need to listen to understand, which is very true.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. What's it called? Seek to understand before being understood, I think, is the famous phrase that goes with that. Is that Steve Covey? The kind of thing behind that. And again, this is about assumptions, isn't it? Look, listen to bust the assumptions, really get to try to get beyond your assumptions. Okay, yeah, listening, spot on. And you said that as well, not just passive listening, be active listening. Okay, anything else, Birdine?
Cecile said Carl does not win. His name is Wins, but even if he is the fastest, he does not win the end lap.
Well, there you go. It's amazing what assumptions can be made, isn't it, in a simple thing. That a nice one, Cecile. Lovely. Okay, so let's talk about that old chestnut. Then it's come up a couple of times here. Our ego. How does it get in the way of a good negotiation, Angelique?
Everyone has ego.
Yeah.
And it's always funny when you hear people saying they haven't got ego, and normally it's the ones that have got the biggest ego say that I haven't got ego. Okay,
there you go. You can't win on that one, folks. You can't win.
No, we've all got egos.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you go into a negotiation and then you start feeling that you're losing the negotiation, your ego kicks in. And then you lose sight of what the end goal is and how you started it. So, and Paul will laugh at this, but you've got to squash that ego completely. You've got to not think about winning. So I think it was a gentleman said about sport, we should make negotiation sport. At the end of the day, when you're on a sports field, whether it be football, rugby, netball, whatever, you're out there to win. And that's it. You're out there to win. And that's not what negotiations should be.
Right. So it's the difference.
Because if you do that, if you're going out there with that mindset, then you're not thinking in the way of how you're going to collaborate and how you're going to work with this person to get the deal that both of you will walk away with. You're just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your ego. You're thinking about winning.
Yeah, that was Paul's comment.
So Paul is definitely saying it should be classed as a sport.
Yeah,
I suppose you can't win them all, Paul.
No, but I suppose in some ways, you could argue, well, okay, he's making it fun, so it's sport, and it doesn't have to be very super serious, but it needs to be enjoyable. I think you mentioned earlier when we were talking beforehand.
Yeah,
negotiation is enjoyable.
It's enjoyable, not to fear it.
Yeah,
and not to think that going into a negotiation that you're already on the back foot. Too many people talk about, there's thousands of books out there about, getting to yes, win-win, et cetera, et cetera. There are hundreds of them and everyone reads them, and then they're all like trying to implement all different skills and techniques, et cetera. But if you just sit back, take a deep breath and look, that you humanize it and you're just talking to somebody else, and then looking at that person and understanding that person and how you're going to come to that deal. That's how we believe very much in that collaborative approach.
That's again.
People say it's naive. It's not naive because we still teach people how to understand when somebody is behaving in a way which is unethical.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand when someone is being unethical with you.
How do you call that, Angelique? When you've got, clearly, you're feeling some. You're getting that kind of piss off factor. Excuse the French there. That pay off factor. Because you feel there's some poor ethics going on. what do you do
You
to
just,
tackle that? Do you name
you
it?
stop, you
Stop.
stop,
Yeah.
you take a breath, and you walk away from it. And there's nothing wrong in doing that.
Stop, walk
There's
away.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Or
Take a
stop
pause.
and just name it and then, reconvene at another day, do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Try, and also bringing this up is to try to not negotiate over email, because everyone misreads emails.
Oh, yeah.
It's like texts and everything else, thinking, oh, they're a bit off. And
Yeah.
actually they weren't. They were just texting really, really quickly because they had to move on to something else. Kind of a bit funny. You hear about people go, they normally put an X at the end of their text, but they haven't done today. Or, they've put best wishes. They never say best wishes at the end of their email. They normally say, hope everything's okay. Can't wait to catch up next week. So always try in a negotiation to get face to face.
Yeah.
And now obviously with where we are in the world, Zoom, Teams, whatever form that you use, but get to speak to people so you can actually have that conversation.
See
Email
eyeballs.
Negotiation
Frightening.
doesn't work.
Yeah, because you can be so off, can't you? And a phrase can be misinterpreted.
Absolutely.
Whereas when you've got eyeballs, together,
Yeah.
as it were, actually they're less likely to turn up, or at least you can bust those assumptions really quickly and kind of, you see the reaction on someone's face. I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like this. Oh, okay. And then, so, I suppose, and the email is the king of all assumptions, isn't it? That we start building, pattern on what's actually going on, which might not be at all.
Absolutely. Because that's assuming then, isn't it?
Totally. It's back to assumptions.
Yeah, you're already going and you're thinking a different way. You're thinking, okay, something wrong. Oh no, what's going to happen? What have I got to do? What have I got to change?
I like those stop points, Angelique. I think those are really important. And there's a great lesson in negotiating skills that, if something feels off, it's to stop and negotiate. It's a bit like being in Toyota production line. What do they do when something goes wrong on the production line? The whole factory stops until that piece is fixed, and then they get going again. So stop, start, absolutely don't keep going, because actually it can start veering in a really ugly direction, I'm guessing.
Yes, absolutely. Because automatic, what will happen is your ego kicks in.
That old ego.
Then you just go into negotiation, and then you just hit deadlock.
There's
no movement then.
Yeah.
So one of you have to internally think, okay, I need to take that time out, take that break, walk away.
Walk away, yeah. And I suppose one of the danger signs for our ego, and when it gets kicking in, is, I've got this. Yeah, I'm on this. I've got it. I'm chasing down the final furlough here. I've got this. And then everything can go badly wrong at that point, where actually it's probably better to say, come on, we've got this,
Yeah, absolutely.
because we both need to walk away feeling good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And it's understanding your value as well.
Yeah.
Not just the product or understanding your own value, and really looking at that as well. And people tend to forget that going through a negotiation. It's not just the product, it's you yourself as well, understanding your value and what you're bringing to help succeed in your negotiation and the businesses working together.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on here in a negotiation, isn't it? It's just not about the facts, is it? There's values, there's people's identity at stake here. There's the whole purpose of the negotiation. Then there's obviously the facts as well, and then there's the assumptions, and then there's those break points on when do we walk away here. Yep. There's a lot to think about, isn't there? A huge amount to think about.
There is, but don't let it daunt you though. Because all it is just thinking and just sitting down and thinking about your value, what the value is of a product, etc., or whether what you're buying, and just sitting down and taking a deep breath and realize that you're just talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, that's a bit too simplistic." I don't believe it is. We definitely don't believe it is. You can come away with having X equals E equals MC squared. That's not going to work because there's human factors involved everywhere.
And actually, there's a great story in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey, who talks about negotiation, where the negotiation was going wrong, and just like you just said, before walking away, one of the guys just stopped the negotiation and said to his counterpart or her counterpart, look, what's actually really going on here, because we seem to be going like this now, we're diverging, and something's off. And let me really understand, what is it that's holding you back here. And at that point, I think, the conversation went, well, look, let's get rid of everybody else in the room and let's just have a conversation, you and I. And it turned out that there was something much more fundamental at stake, which was about, his or her business that they were letting go, and is it in safe hands? And it was a completely different conversation. And once they understood that, they could then, actually the whole conversation shifted, because they got out the assumption, got what was really going on. But the key thing here is that someone had the emotional intelligence to kind of pinpoint that and kind of going, what's really going on here? Let's see if we can crack this open, rather than just walking away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. So,
but even if you are going to, I will put that point, if you are going to walk away, you don't have to walk away in a rude way or abrupt, or you can walk away
still with a relationship intact, folks.
Absolutely.
That's the key thing here that Angelique is really suggesting here. You don't have to end up falling out over these things.
No, you don't need to.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of people look at hard bargaining as a sport. I'll go back to Paul.
Yeah, Paul. Okay, so Berdine's asked a brilliant question here. I'll just bring Berdine's question up here. So, quick question: during negotiation, have you ever had to act differently, which goes against your own nature or value? And
that's a really good one. So, if we pulled up the slide for Machiavelli,
yeah, 1 second, I'll get that.
This is actually a great question.
This is the negotiation dilemma. There we go.
All right, so if everyone could just have a quick read of that.
Okay, so any man who tries to be good at all the time is bound to come to ruin among the great number who are not good. Hence, a prince who wants to keep his authority must learn how not to be good and use that knowledge, or refrain from using it as necessity requires. Lovely. Okay, tell us more, Angelique.
So I think we briefly talked about it early on. No matter how ethical you are in your negotiation, you are always going to come across somebody who's not going to be that way. It would be naive for you to go into that negotiation thinking that they're going to be collaborative with you. Always remain true to yourself, but always understand you might have to behave differently. It doesn't mean that you're losing your values, but you may have to act differently in that negotiation. In fact, in sales, in life, it's not just negotiation, it's in life.
So if something isn't working, do something different, but still stay within your values, but try to understand what the value of the other person is.
Absolutely,
right. Okay.
Because otherwise it would be naive to think if we went around trying to go through a collaborative negotiation and the person's agreeing to everything that you're saying, wonderful, and you're holding hands and you're skipping into the sun, into the sunset, happy. It's not that. You're going to have to understand that some people won't budge. Their personality is that they just will not budge.
Right. Yeah. I know a few people like that. They just will not budge. Yeah.
Yeah. You keep your values, but you will have to behave slightly differently.
Okay. Right. Got that. Thank you. Now, Paul teases us back.
Makes sense to everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
I hope so. Yeah. We were teasing Paul earlier, and he's just welcome to my world. Thanks, Paul. Tessa Unsworth here. She's come across as a LinkedIn user, but I've just looked up who this is. Morning, Tessa. How can you control side negotiations? E.g. clients taking the CEO for dinner for better deal after a couple of drinks. This puts you on the back foot when trying to close a deal. Okay, interesting. What say you to that?
So are we talking about a counterpart taking somebody out for a drink? Explain that to me again. So
I just wonder whether it was, I'll just bring it up again. I just wonder whether this was about different people in the negotiation then sort of joining into it. Yeah, and possibly ruining where other people in the negotiation had got to because, of a simple conversation over drinks, which then introduces a whole bunch of assumptions which may not have been thought through.
Yeah. So as long as everything so when you're looking at your negotiation, and that's a really good thought there, because obviously people do change their minds, is making sure that you understand all your variables at the beginning, but also that you've got everything in writing. So that if it does happen where somebody does go out drinking with somebody and it takes a side turn and then somebody else agrees something else, then if you've got it in writing and you've discussed your negotiation and then you've put it down and you've talked and said, this is what we discussed, this is what we're looking at, then that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't affect. But you can't stop someone going out and, having a jolly and then the CEO saying,
and I suppose that's fine. Yeah.
But if you've got it in writing and you've talked about it and you've actually followed up, then, going out drinking the night afterwards, you can't help, that's why I'm just slightly, I need to understand more context behind
more what's going on there.
Absolutely, to understand, to be able to say something knowledgeably back to you. But what I would say was, in every negotiation, once you've decided and you've done the deal, is that you actually then write it in an email and confirm.
So you've got the up-to-date information that everybody is then, you've got a level playing field, and that essentially is useful to break any sort of assumptions.
Absolutely.
And I suppose the other smart thing is there, when you are out drinking with the senior counterparts of a deal, that actually, you refer back to the team and kind of say, well, I can't make any decisions on that because, we need to let the team know these things. So we can have a nice conversation. Absolutely. And I'll mention that to the team, but you don't have to promise anything if you don't know the circumstances that's really going on in the detail, I'd say.
Unless they've had 16 bottles of vodka and then they've decided.
Then it's a whole new thing, right? But
then make sure you tape it.
Yeah. Tessa, come back to us if that's not what you meant, but we're inferring there. So let's just see. Joe's just come up with this. I hope and believe I don't act differently during a negotiation. I prefer the person I'm negotiating with trusts me and what I'm offering. So Joe's brought up the question of trust there, and absolutely, this is about human dynamics, isn't it? And being trustworthy and honourable. And building trust as you're going along, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Trust is key throughout.
Fantastic.
If you don't trust somebody, then you'll automatically not want to work with them, not want to give them the deal, because you'll just think, I don't even want to negotiate with this person, so I'm just going to be really difficult. So
Well, and once trust is broken, it's hard to build back up again, and that's where the walk away comes in.
Absolutely impossible, because the relationship hasn't been built.
Okay. Everything relies on trust and fragility of relationships, and if that gets broken, it's harder to go back to. Okay, fine.
It's not the same as your son saying, I've done my homework, and they haven't. I'd like to give them, but when it comes to a counterpart, they do something that you don't trust them, then that's it. The relationship's very, very hard, almost impossible to get back.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that thing about the homework. It's like my daughter will go to me and say, "Dad, can I have this?" And having already been to Mum, which I didn't know about, and then Mum said no, and I'm very tempted to say yes. And actually, what I've realised is one of the best things to do is go back to when my daughter asks that question, is kind of, I'll just check with your Mum first, because otherwise assumptions again build up, don't they? And,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
They're crafty.
Okay, which again is all about trust, isn't it? So we're getting a few YouTubers coming on at the moment. Not quite sure what's going on there, but I think that's just spam, I think, so I'll just ignore those for now, but excuse me if they're not. Angelique, we could talk forever, and it looks like we're coming to a point where we need to sort of think about signalling, closing off a little bit here. Take us away with your top tips to remember to be a successful negotiator, Angelique.
Okay, so ours are remembering that all of you probably do this anyway, is always make sure that you research and understand. So I'm going the other way around. So always plan.
Yeah.
Never go in without. Always make sure you understand your value.
Yeah.
And knowing your break points is incredibly important. Never assume, always listen.
Yeah.
And remember the person, research them, really research them. And that's Twitter, everything. And leave your ego behind. But remember, negotiate. And my last point on this is, remember, this is a conversation and negotiation. It's a human that you're talking to.
Yeah.
Don't overthink the word negotiation. Everyone thinks that they have to put, all these grand words behind it, and it's this, that, and the other. It's not. It's just simply two people talking, want to coming to a solution together. As simple as that.
Love that. Look, remember, negotiation is really a conversation. It's a complex conversation, but that's really what it is. And it's not about gaming the system or gaming each other. It's just trying to deeply understand what's going on and coming out with something that you both walk away being happy with. I really love that.
And every negotiation is different.
Yeah.
And they can be complex sometimes. They can be simple.
Yeah. And just to remember, folks, as Angelique said, look, everybody thinks they're a good negotiator, or the converse of that is I fear negotiation just in case I go wrong. So you can have one of those two paradigms. And either can be difficult. The key is to relax and to, it's not about being good at it, is it? And thinking you're good at it or fearing it. It's to just open up your ears and listen and, talk appropriately and build trust and do all the things appropriate so that both people can walk away with a secure deal that works for both of them. Super. Okay. Wow. I mean, what a canter through. That was absolutely superb. Thank you very much indeed. I'm just going to quickly change scenes a moment.
I'm sorry I can't help you, Paul, on your hard bargaining on that one. That's completely out of my remit.
There you go, Paul. So, Paul Winfield, that is, I think. Thank you so much, Angelique. I hope you all found that to be a useful topic, and it's given you further food for thought. If you need any further advice in negotiating and take up one of New Beginnings negotiating training courses for your business, then please contact Angelique directly. Her contact details are in the post. We've also just popped in the website for Angelique's business there. So look, if this has resonated with you and you need to refresh your negotiation skills or your team's negotiation skills, then this is a good time to do that. Great for leadership teams as well to go through together. Angelique and her team are superb. I've got to know Angelique reasonably well recently, and I just see the value in what she offers. So I'll put that to you as well. So also, drum roll, there's a new Leaderslive LinkedIn group as well, folks, that you can join into to keep the conversation moving and keep the comments going. So we invite you to join that, and so you can jump over there and continue the conversation. Yes, please, that would be really good. Before I get on to what's next week, folks, a quick word on what's the purpose and my why with Leaderslive. And it all starts with the idea and the passion that you are more than you think. We are more than we think. And so Leaderslive is my freely available edutaining expression of this, where anyone can join in and enjoy taking part in extraordinary conversations, of which we've just had today, this extraordinary conversation with Angelique. And really the maxim is I to the power of we, and that's really what we've been talking about today as well. In a negotiation, it's not just you and not just them. It's we're trying to get through this together, that makes it walk away with a good deal from both sides. Okay. So quick shout out for stuff that I do here. If you find this stuff interesting that we've been talking about on Leaderslive, then my other commercial offerings I can help you with are keynote speaking. You can book me for those, and I do company events online now as well, obviously, and I talk about growth mindset, I talk about high performance, I talk about business change, and all of those things combined today in this rapidly changing world. My company PDX boosts your business success through developing high performance teamwork and leadership programs. And if you need any executive coaching, you can hire me to there. I'm a fully qualified coach. I've been coaching for a couple of decades now at least. And lastly, I co-run a subscription-based community called Inspired CEO. So if you are an SME CEO, I invite you to experience how we collaborate to play a bigger game, in our business lives. And Angelique, you're part of that group as well, aren't you? Our Inspired CEOs. Anything you want to say about that, Angelique? Putting you on the spot now.
I mean, it's been great. You learn a lot. You actually have ideas given to you that you didn't think about, and I've learned quite a lot about our own business in how to do certain things. So it's really worth joining.
Yeah, and we support. The whole thing is about support and community, and that's how it works.
Support and community. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Angelique. Look. Next Leaders Live, folks, will be Tuesday, the 1st of February at the usual time of 8:45 a.m. UK time. And I'll be hanging out with Head of Business Development at AQR International, Maria Jeffers, who's on the line now, actually, who, like us, has a passion for extraordinary conversations built around mental toughness. That's next week, mental toughness. We're going to chat about what is mental toughness and why is it important and how we can assess our own and others' mental toughness around us by using a mental toughness questionnaire. And Maria has a very generous discount offer for us to make it very affordable, to make it an absolute no-brainer for us to take part in that questionnaire, to grab that questionnaire for yourself. I've done it. It's absolutely excellent. Great shout out for Maria. I'm looking forward to chatting with Maria for an interesting and useful conversation, and I hope that you will benefit too. So, folks, be there or be square, is our strap line. And in the meantime, all the confetti comes out. I've got to clear all this confetti up after we finish, by the way, folks. It just gets everywhere in the microphones and everything. So in the meantime, it's goodbye from Angelique, it's goodbye from Birdie, it's goodbye from me, and we wish you a great week ahead, folks. And that's it, folks. See you again next week. And see you, folks. Bye-bye. Cheers for now.